Politics now, and a new Associated Press GFK poll out today shows that the presidential race is in a dead heat. President Obama leads Mitt Romney by 1 point among registered voters, and that's changed very little from June when the president led by 3. Joining me now for more front page politics, Eleanor Clift, contributing editor for Newsweek and the Daily Beast, and David Drucker, associate politics editor for Roll Call. I understand, David, you've already made your way there to Tampa. Are you trying to beat out the storm and get there ahead of time?
I'm in Tampa. It's beautiful. If tropical storms always are preceded by beautiful weather, then I know where I'm going to vacation next.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Let's hope it stays that way for everyone. But with a good day to both of you, Eleanor, I want to ask you first about Mitt Romney's comments about his birth certificate. You know, obviously a reference to the birther controversy that some conservatives pushed against the president. How did Mr. Romney's handlers react to all this? Did they wish he just had not gone there?
Well, at first it seems like an innocent joke, and I imagine it was not scripted for Governor Romney, that he just couldn't resist. And any time that he spends talking about cultural issues is time wasted from his perspective, because he wants this election to be about the economy and the president's failure to restore the economy to full health. So this was yet another diversion, and so I'm sure Mitt Romney's handlers are not happy with it, and probably Governor Romney isn't all that happy with himself, I would think. Wished he hadn't gone there.
Yeah. David, what do you think the fallout is? Is this more than just a one-day, couple-day weekend story, or does it show that Mitt Romney is prone to gaffes?
I think it was a Twitter news cycle story. I really don't think it's going to matter too much. I don't think it was a gaffe. I think the problem would be is if he were to somehow shift to talking about the birth certificate issue and make it some sort of issue on the campaign, but I think it was a one-off. I think that we're going to have a convention, we're going to have a Democratic convention, we're going to have 4 presidential debates, we're going to have jobs numbers. Nobody's going to remember this. It's not going to matter. And I think we need to remember that for the vast majority of voters in the states that matter, they're not focused on the day-to-day things like we are, and so I don't really think it's an issue. Don't forget, last night in an interview, Mitt Romney said, I think the president was born in the U.S. It was just a joke, and so I just think it's case closed.
Well, and he's also said that leading up to, I mean, during his candidacy, he said that for the most part. So anyway, as we move on, Eleanor, to overall this week, not a really great one for the GOP leading up to the convention, especially with the Todd Akins legitimate rape comment. How much does that distract from the Republican convention message?
I think that really is a serious issue for the Romney-Ryan ticket. You know, in this media clutter, Todd Akins, Congressman Akins' words really broke through, and very few things break through to just about everybody knows that he said something really bizarre about women and rape. And he's really not that different from the rest of his party, and he worked with Congressman Ryan on the language that would redefine rape as forcible rape, sort of distinguishing between, you know, rape that it's legitimate to get an abortion, and rape where somehow the woman wants it and should not be allowed to have an abortion. It's all about restricting access to abortion. And so he's really not off the reservation. The Republican Party is in accord with this, and now there's going to be focus on the Human Life Amendment that's part of the Republican platform, with which Governor Romney really doesn't agree with. And so it sets up this cultural tension in Tampa. Not good for the party goers.
David, what about Ann Romney's speech having been moved from Monday night, when the networks were not going to be televising things, to now Tuesday night? How critical is her speech, and is it all about trying to sway the female voter where Mitt Romney's behind?
Well, I think that that's a part of it. I think if you've watched this campaign from the beginning, Ann Romney makes perhaps the best case for her husband of any of the campaign surrogates. And, you know, having followed campaigns for president and for governor, there's no replacement for the wife, for the spouse, but most of the time these major campaigns have men at the top of the ticket, and there's no replacement for the wife who vouches for her husband. And in Mitt Romney's case, somebody who's seen as very competent and very smart, but not always the most likable, caring person in the world from the outside. She has the ability to tell voters, to tell women that you can trust Mitt Romney to care about you and that he's a good guy. And I think that's why they made sure that her speech was going to be covered by the networks in prime time.
Eleanor, how much do you think Ann Romney can sway the female vote?
You know, it's nice that, you know, she loves her husband and she comes across in a very positive way. I mean, clearly she's an asset, but I don't see her turning a lot of votes. I've listened in on some focus groups around the country with Walmart moms, and it's amazing how little they know about her. They barely know her name. So this has got to be a major introduction for Ann Romney to break through. She'd like to break through as clearly as Todd Akin did this last week. And, you know, she's positive, but I don't see her making much of an impact.
How about the impact from the conventions from both of you? I want your perspective, because as we know, that you usually get some sort of a bounce. So to you, David, first, how much do you expect will be the bounce at the end of the week?
I don't know if we're going to have a huge bounce, particularly because this rolls into the Democratic convention and a lot of attention will shift there. But I do say this about both conventions. This is when voters really start to tune in. You are going to get a wide audience and a lot of news coverage. And I look at this more for the campaigns as building the foundations for the final, 10, 11 weeks of the campaign. So it's not necessarily about the bounce, but it's about strengthening the foundations of the theme and the strength of the campaign going forward. And that's where they do, in fact, matter, and I think that they do sway public opinion to a degree that without them, without the big show and the big speeches, you'd have people wondering who these people were. And so I think they're important both for Governor Romney and the president. As
long as, Eleanor, people are watching, we're at the end of summer, people getting in last holidays, the business of starting school again. I mean, how much of a concern is that for you?
Paul Ryan gave Mitt Romney a two-point bounce, which is really minimal, and I don't think they're going to get much more out of the convention, and comparisons will be made. Sarah Palin is going to look pretty good coming out of the convention. Now, that didn't endure. So, I just think that in today's media environment, it's so fast-paced, and I agree that I think the decisions are going to be made around the debates. I mean, that's what's really important.
Yep, and we got a bunch of those coming up. All right, David Drucker, Eleanor Cliff, good to see you both. Thank you.
Thank you.